we're talking free agent targets here on today's 76ers. Now, I'm Jake Chipper. Thank you so much for tuning in and checking out today's show. With NBA free agency getting underway tomorrow on Monday, June 30th, we're going to take a look at 10 guys I think the Sixers can go after in free agency with a special focus on the first five, and then, of course, another five that I think would fit as well. Speaking of free agency, we will be live here on the channel for the start of 2025 NBA free agency. Of course, a big focus for the Sixers will be on their own guys, but they will be able to bring in some external options as well. NBA free agency starts at 6 p.m. Eastern on Monday, so we'll be live a little bit before then. So hit that sub button, turn on your notifications so you are notified when we go live. Come hang out, and we'll have a good time. Now, a quick reminder before we get into all these names here. Sixers are in a tough spot financially, especially with Quentin Grimes. They're going to have to bring him back on a deal that could come close to $20 million, even more per year average annual value. They're going to be right up there against that second apron, and then probably going to result in them not being able to bring back Gershon Yabusele. So with those three max deals of Paul George and Embiid and Maxey, they don't have a lot to work with, right? So I'm not projecting them to have the non-taxpayer mid-level exception of $14 million available to their disposal. They're not going to be able to use that. So everyone we're looking at today, I think they can either use the taxpayer mid-level at about $5.5 million, or honestly on a vet minimum deal to bring in. Not a whole bunch of splash names they're going to be able to bring in, but guys that can make an impact in this rotation for some areas of need for Philadelphia. So let's get started with the first name on this list. That's going to be Clint Capela. Now, he definitely could get more than the $5.5 million for that non-taxpayer, for that taxpayer mid-level exception, but also a chance that, look, teams around the league don't want to pay him a whole lot more, closer to that $14 million range, and he has to settle. We've seen a lot of role players now, especially over the last couple of years, have to settle for less money than you think they might be worth, because there's just not a lot of teams in the NBA that have cap space to pay players. So when you think about the Sixers, they certainly could use more size. And I know Andre Drummond opted in, but I think Andre Drummond will not be on this roster heading into next year. So you add a player in Capela that will just do what you need from a backup center, an experienced backup center who can just get rebounds, run the floor, and protect the rim. That's all I need. It'll be cheap. And again, a player who's been around for a while and knows how to get it done. Moving to a different kind of player here at number 2, that is Luke Kennard, the absolute sharpshooter who's spent the last couple of years with the Memphis Grizzlies. Also spent a lot of time with the LA Clippers, of course. And this is pretty simple when you're talking about Luke Kennard, bringing him in. It's the shooting aspect, right? Shot 43.3% from three this past season, and year out, he's one of the best volume three-point shooters in the league. Not going to do a whole lot else for you outside of that, but again, when you're in a position the Sixers are in, looking at just filling some gaps on this roster, they could use some more three-point shooting at that wing spot. They draft VJ Edgecombe, not a great shooter right off the bat. You think about like a Kelly Oubre, a 31% three-point shooter. So they need more floor spacing. Like a guy that not going to play huge minutes for you, but situationally, I think can make an impact, being one of the best three-point shooters in the league. Not going to cost much. Now we got Amir Coffey, formerly of the Los Angeles Clippers. All these guys, by the way, that we talked about so far, unrestricted free agents, so you can go out there and talk to them in free agency. Amir Coffey, a little bit of a different player than Luke Kennard on that wing. Not quite the dynamic three-point threat that Kennard is, though Coffey did hit nearly 41% of his threes this past season, but can do a little bit more with the ball in his hand, showed some things, getting to his spots in the mid-range, pulling up from that free throw line area, and an intriguing player for the Clippers, but he's a pretty big liability on the defensive end of the floor. And when you think about your role players, right, they have to fit into a certain defined role, and I think Coffey's one of those guys where maybe not the best at fitting in an offense. He kind of needs the ball in his hands to be more successful. And again, when you're not that good of a defender either, how much of an impact are you going to be able to make? But I think he's an intriguing enough talent where the Sixers could use another player at that wing spot. Coffey could definitely be had for cheap. So a lot of more names to get to here on today's show. But real quick, chime in for me down in the comments section. Give me a name for a free agent you want the Sixers to go ahead and sign. Of course, it could be one of the three I've already talked about, or someone that we have not talked about yet here on today's show. Keep it realistic, though, all right? Don't go out saying some big-name player the Sixers can't afford, like a Miles Turner or something, all right? Keep it in the realm of realism, but get involved, and let me know that you know ball down in the comments section. Before we get to the rest of these free agents, VJ Edgecombe jerseys are available. Now the Sixers' third overall pick in the 2025 NBA draft is going to be rocking the number 77. Of course, he wore number 7 in college. That number currently occupied by Kyle Lowry. We'll see if Kyle Lowry does end up returning, keeping that number, and Edgecombe stays at 77. Whether he does or not, I still think he's going to be a good player in this league. So you can get his jersey now at chatsports.com/V-J. Again, that's chatsports.com/V-J. I'll have that in the comments and description of today's show. So you can just click on it. It'll take you to Fanatics, and you can get your VJ Edgecombe jerseys now. Moving on to free agent target number 4. Going back to the big man in Precious Achiuwa, forward/center. Spent last season with the New York Knicks and has been around the league a little bit as well. Some stops in Miami, some stops in Toronto. He's a guy that can play the 4, can play the 5. He showed the ability to space the floor a little bit in the past, although I don't think that's a huge part of his game at this point. Just a backup big here who can run the floor, just really eat up minutes at that center spot. The Sixers just need guys, again, that can eat up minutes at the center spot and not be a total liability on the floor. We've seen situations where they're out here putting guys that are G Leaguers. They have to end up calling up on these two-way deals to put in because Embiid's out and they don't have enough bodies there, right? So again, I don't think Drummond will be back, nor do I think he should be. I don't like what I saw from him last year. Achiuwa can at least play a little bit, 6 points, 5.5 rebounds. Sixers an awful rebounding team last year. Even with Embiid, they're not a good rebounding team. So I think the more bodies you have there, the better. And again, some positional flexibility, being able to play the 4 and the 5. Then we got Chris Boucher, similar kind of player in a way, although Boucher has a little more range from that three-point line this past year with the Toronto Raptors, where he's been with Toronto for seems like forever now. I can't believe we're still kicking it over there with the Raptors. Shot just over 36% from 3, averaging 10 points, 4.5 rebounds. Pretty efficient from the field as well. A little thinner at 6'9", 200, so not this typical big body center that you're going to have just gobbling up rebounds down in the paint, but a little bit of a different skill set at that center spot, something a little more skilled. Again, you can extend to the three-point line. Sixers really throughout Embiid's entire career haven't really had backup bigs or any bigs in general that give you that floor spacing ability, and I think it's a valuable asset to have on a team. Of course, they draft Janai Broom. I don't think he is going to be able to space the floor in the NBA, so maybe you bring someone in here in a Chris Boucher who can do a little bit more of that from the perimeter, a little bit more of today's modern NBA skill set. A few other targets that I think the Sixers could go after, and again, I know these aren't huge names and maybe not the big exciting changes you'd like to see come into this roster, but again, the Sixers just don't really have a lot of flexibility when it comes to signing free agents this offseason. They can make a trade, maybe get somebody in here, but as of right now, this is the way it stands. I do like Jake LaRavia. He's another player on the wing who can shoot the ball very well, but also has showed, in his game to be able to do a little bit more, creating his own shot a little bit. Not someone you're really going to ask to do that a whole lot, but can play the 3, can play the small ball 4 as well. Larry Nance, obviously we know he's a tremendous athlete. He's dealt with some injuries over the past couple of years, but I still think at that 4-5 spot, he's developed into a little bit of a three-point shooter. Sixers are not a very athletic team, even though they did draft VJ Edgecombe. That's great, but going to go back to Janai Broom again. Not a good athlete. Get another athlete down there with Adem Bona in that backup big rotation. Another guy that has 4-5 flexibility. Taurean Prince didn't have a good playoff series for the Milwaukee Bucks, but a veteran who's obviously been around the block in the NBA. Someone who pretty clear role as a 3-and-D vet. Just hit your open shots, hit your corner threes, and play tough, smart defense. And just a veteran, smart guy. Sixers could use more of that on the wing. A lot of young guys in that wing rotation behind Paul George. Trey Lyles, your pretty typical stretch 4. Not too much to say on him beyond that, although a little bit crafty with the ball, makes smart passes, and again, just knock down threes from the outside. Sixers are going to be losing Gershon Yabusele more likely than not, so you kind of need a replacement there at that stretch 4 role. I think Trey Lyles can fill that. And then Delano Banton's a pretty interesting one for Portland. He was kind of a project player for the Raptors for a while, ended up finding his way on Portland, and still a young player. 6'9", kind of more of a guard than a forward, in all honesty. Kind of played a lot of point guard for them over there. So an intriguing skill set. Someone who the shot really has to come along for him to develop a clear role in the NBA. But you're talking about a guy who's tall, has that handle, has that passing vision. Sixers could use more players in this roster that can create shots for others and just handle the rock and play make a little bit. I think Banton could do some of that. I'll be interested to see what kind of contract he gets. It's possible that a team with some money who's younger throws some more money at Banton as a project kind of guy. But I think if he's available and out there on the open market for about $5 million, I would take the chance, man. A good skill set the Sixers could use on this roster. Of course, free agency will get underway tomorrow, and as soon as any move happens, we'll have a video for you guys here on the channel, and I'm always tweeting my thoughts about the Sixers over on my Twitter at Jake Chipper. So go throw me a follow over there. I'm also always posting anytime we post a video on the channel. I'll tweet that out on my Twitter/X page as well. So give me a follow, hit that sub button, and we'll catch you guys tomorrow right here on the show.